along with our entrance into this world, we get an ayu, span of life. And those who are well-wishers advocate that we make the best use of the time that we have while we're here. And to keep things simple, the sages, foreseeing a time when people would be quite busy, had given a process that is simple. And even up to the present time, those who have learned the process of devotional service from venerable and revered teachers who are in the parampara have suggested that the main process for self-realization. Oh, fans are okay. Nothing against them, right? I see a few devotees fanning themselves. Maybe we could help out. We don't mind air, right? Could we have more? Sages have pointed out verses from various shastras that give us clarity about the simple process in the Kali Yuga age. Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevalam, kalo nasteva, 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 gatiranyata. And in one verse, it's mentioned 3 times for emphasis that in the present age of Kali Yuga, there's no other process except for chanting Hare Krishna. In the name of Krishna, or in the Mahamantra, we find the combination of Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, and this indicates the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His divine energies. To be more specific, when we say Hare Krishna, we mean Radha Krishna, because Krishna is never alone. God has multifarious potencies. Parasha Saktir Vivadaiva Shriyate Swabhavika Jnana Bala Kriya Cha. The meaning of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is that He has unlimited energies or potencies. And one of those potencies is called the Hladini Shakti, and is a person from whom the Hladini Shakti is embodied, and from whom all the expansions of Hladini Shakti come. Srimati Radharani is the potency, or we say the eternal consort of Krishna. So we say Radha Krishna. We don't mention just Krishna alone. When we say Krishna, we mean Hare Krishna, or Radha and Krishna. And although God is one, He expands Himself for His own pleasure. And this is mentioned in the Vedas, Eko Bahu Sham. And that is the one becomes many for His unlimited enjoyment. His primary source of enjoyment is His internal potency, called the Radharani, as the consort of Krishna. And in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, we hear Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Hladini Shakti Rasmat. That Radha and Krishna are eternally engaged in a loving relationship. And that is the main feature of the topmost level of the spiritual world, in which the pastimes between Radha and Krishna are orchestrated, and there are unlimited other devotees who participate in those pastimes to support them and to appreciate them. So on Radhashtami, we have a celebration which is very specifically about Srimati Radharani and her appearance. We say in this world, but she actually doesn't appear in this world, because Krishna, when he appears, comes with all his devotees, and he never touches the material world, nor do his eternal associates. But we say on this day that Srimati Radharani appeared, because Krishna comes to the world and he performs his Leela for the upliftment of the devotees, so that they can remember him and chant his names. I'll just mention one more thing, and that is in the Sri Upadeshamrita. I was noticing yesterday that Rupa Goswami, who wrote the Upadeshamrita, speaks about hierarchies. We may be interested in ever-increasing happiness ourselves. In fact, that's our nature, to seek out what's best. Utambariya. And Rupa Goswami mentions that there are various realms, as does Krishna in the Bhagavad Gītā. Standing here on earth speaking to Arjuna, Krishna points out, parastasmat tu bhavo nyo vyakto vyaktat sanatanaha yaksakshar vishubhuteshu nashyatsu navinashiti. That's helpful information. He said, besides this world that's sometimes manifest and sometimes unmanifest, which is a little inconvenient for us, because we'd appreciate it if it didn't become unmanifested. He said there is a world that is always manifest. It's supreme. It's better than this world. Who wouldn't want something better? In fact, I said who wouldn't want something better? And that's what most people advertise. They say, we have a better salad spoon, or we have a better car. But categorically, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gītā, no matter what is better or worse in this world, it's all bad, because it's sometimes manifest and sometimes unmanifest. And frankly, as eternal souls, we find that annoying and vexing. So Krishna says, transfer your attention to that world which is always manifest. Thanks for staying. Don't think I don't appreciate it. And in the Rig Veda it says, Om Tad Vishnu Paramam Param Sada Pashanti Suryoho Diviva Chakshatatam Tad Vipraso Vipandevo Jagrivam Saha Samindate Vishnu Yat Paramam Padam. That although the devotee walks in this world, temporary as it is, annoying as it is, vexing as it is, he or she is looking towards the Paramam Padam, the supreme abode. That's a unique aspect of humans. They can do that. We can walk in this world, but we can fix our attention elsewhere. Well, so can others, but not very deliberately. We can train ourselves to aim for the highest destination. So Krishna points it out. It's a higher destination. It's not manifest and unmanifest. It's always there and it's full of light. And then, of course, to help us in that, he categorically states that the material world, from top to bottom, that's from Brahmaloka, that happens to be the top, down to Patala, that's the lowest realm. He says, for our edification, that it's all full of misery. He just tells us ahead of it, you're not going to like it. Doesn't matter where you readjust yourself, so aim for the highest thing. So that sense, a hierarchy is helpful, but it's a simple hierarchy. There's only two parts. But then Rupa Goswami says in the Upadeshamrita, Vaikuntash janito vara marupuri tatrapi rasotsavad vrindaranya mudarapani ramanat tatrapi govardhanaha radha kundami hapi gokula pate premamrita lavanat kuryadasya virajato giritite sevam viveki nakaha. Well, as far as the spiritual realms go, he starts by mentioning Vaikuntha. And Vaikuntha is not even part of this world, it's the spiritual world. In fact, it means a place where there's no anxiety. Vaikuntas janito vara. What's better? Vara. Better. Vaikunta janito vara. Madhupuri. That's Krishna's hometown. That's better than Vaikuntha. It's good to know, right? And Mathura. In fact, everyone say Mathura. There are several verses in the Bhagavatamrita that say that just the name Mathura is so auspicious that just by remembering the name of Krishna's birthplace from Vasudeva and Devaki, one can transfer oneself to the spiritual world. Mathura, Mathura, Mathura. And then we have Vrindavan. And Vaikuntash Jarito Vara Marupuri Tatrapi Ratsotsavad. Vrindaranyam, the forest of Vrindadevi. That's Vrindavan, right? If I'm not incorrect. And there we have a hierarchy. That beyond Mathura, there's Vrindavan. And if you're in Vrindavan, you might find somebody who's running a rickshaw business who is inviting you to go there. There are certain intersections outside of Vrindavan where the rickshaw driver will call to you and say, Vrindavan, 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 Vrindavan. And who wouldn't want to go there? Vaikuntash janito vara marupuri tatrapi ratsotsavad vrindaranyam udarapani ramanat tatrapi govardhanaha. Then we get to Vrindavan, but then you can take a little trip to Govardhan Hill. He said that's better. Why? Because Krishna lifted it with his hand. That makes it better. There's a hill. In fact, whenever I'm leaving Vrindavan and going to Govardhan Hill, people say, "You going to the mountain?" You call it Govardhan Hill, but it's a mighty hill. Krishna, in order to charm the residents of Vrindavan and keep them absorbed in the mood of pure devotional service, manifested himself as Govardhan Hill. And sometimes in the Kartik season, if you stay out there, you'll notice that there are a little rainstorm. I mean, you can't help but notice it. There's a rainstorm in Vrindavan, and sometimes there's thunder and lightning. Not like on a monsoon, but just a light rain, but there's some thunder and lightning. And if you look out at Govardhan Hill, you can see flashes of light on Govardhan. And Govardhan Hill is better than Vrindavan, says Rupa Goswami, because Krishna lifted with his hand But it's also special because it's a place where Krishna played. As a child, Krishna played with his friends and cows. He liked it because it was a place where the cows were happy. And we were just discussing with Devamrita Swami, and Jamuna happened to sit down. We were talking, and Devamrita Swami oversees a project called Gita Nagari. They have dozens of cows there. And we were just thinking about how Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. There's a pranam mantra to Krishna in which it's mentioned that he likes cows the best. And anyone who lives around cows becomes peaceful. And Prabhupada said, it's beyond human reason to understand how by taking care of cows, serving cows, that one develops all good qualities. I once lived in the Goshala in Vrindavan before I had a spot at Govardhan Hill. I was making my way through the hierarchy. So they put me at the Goshala. And I'd wake up early in the morning and I'd sit with the cows. And I just put my chair there and I chant my japa with the cows. There's nobody else around because it was early. And it was not a populated area out there at the Goshala in Vrindavan near Krishna Balaram Mandir. And I noticed that I felt more peaceful. I noticed sometimes the cows would ram each other, mostly because they were trying to position themselves to get a better spot at the trough where they were eating. But I noticed that nobody got really upset. It was over before it started practically. Slam in and like, no problem. Whereas I noticed the monkeys in Vrindavan, not the langurs, but the rhesus monkeys, little brown ones. Some of them aren't that little. But if you look at them the wrong way, they'll follow you home. You looking at me? You looking at me? But the cows, very peaceful. And there at Govardhan Hill, Hantaya Madra Abala Haridasavaryo Yadrama Krishna Charanashvarasha Pramoda Manam Tanoti Sahugo Ganayostayo Yatpani Asuya Vasakanda Kanda Mule. It's spoken by Radharani. It's in the Bhagavatam. She talks about how special Govardhan Hill is because it increases the pleasure of the cows with places where they can drink nice clear water from the waterfalls on Govardhan Hill, nice green grass, places where they can stay in caves. And in fact, it's also mentioned how Krishna would play with his friends and there were caves on Govardhan Hill where they could go. And of course we know that Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill with his little finger. And Prabhupada mentions in the Sri Upanishad that he didn't have to practice weightlifting in order to come to the point of being able to lift Govardhan Hill. He was just a child, but he lifted it up with his little finger in his left hand. That's demonstrative, isn't it? How did you lift it? Well, I don't know, my left finger. And he held it aloft for 7 days. And it's notable there, and this is why it's up there in the hierarchy, that everybody in Vrindavan had to come under the hill because Indra had lost his mind. He became enraged because he had some anartha in his heart that he was the supreme controller. And when Krishna dissuaded the residents of Vrindavan from performing a sacrifice for Indra, and Indra found out about it, he said, that little kid, he talked them out of it? Why did they listen to that little brat? He said, we'll teach these guys a lesson. Have you ever become angry and then you did something you wish you hadn't? One person. Who said yes? Thank you. Everyone else, I'm going to come move in with you. Indra did something he really regretted. He tried to obliterate the residents of Vrindavan by sending inordinately huge rain clouds and raindrops that were as big as wagon wheels. Now all the residents went under the hill and they stayed there with Krishna for 7 days, and he didn't go home like he usually did. At night, Krishna would go back to, ostensibly, he'd go back to his parents' house. He did sneak out at night to play more with his girlfriends. But now he was there for 7 days holding the mountain aloft. And all the devotees were under the hill, so they had a 360-degree view of Krishna. What's more, they had unlimited time to interact with him under the hill, all in their own ways. Yashoda, in her motherly sentiment, was worried that he needed to eat, and coward boys who knew that sometimes when they wrestled with Krishna, they'd defeat Krishna. They thought, how's he going to keep holding this? And they would use their sticks to help. Here, we'll help you out. And then, of course, there are devotees in other, what are called rasas, or relationships with Krishna. And they all had their full satisfaction of being Krishna, with Krishna. So Govardhan Hills especially noted for being a place where everyone in every relationship had an opportunity for 7 days to interact with Krishna all at the same time. They didn't have to wait for their time in the day or week or month to meet with Krishna. So that's why Govardhan Hill's better and higher on the hierarchy, right? Pani. Vaikuntaj janito vara marupuri tatrapi ratsotsavad vrindaranya udara pani ramanat tatrapi govardhaha radha kunda mihapi gokulapate premamritat lavanat. Then he says, at the top of the hierarchy is Radhakunda. We know that Radhakund came to be right after Krishna killed Arishtasura. And Arishta had dug his hooves into the ground very deeply, and then Krishna killed him. And afterwards, the gopis said they didn't want to spend any time with him anymore because he was contaminated. He had killed a bull. Arishta was a bull. And they told him, you're going to have to go take Shnan and purify yourself, otherwise get away from us. So Krishna, using his supreme powers, had called the holy rivers from all over the universe to come there. And they made a kund from the place where Arishtasura had dug up the earth. And then Krishna took bath. He said, here I am. And he said, you can use my kund. And they said, no thanks. You left all your sins in there. And so Srimati Radharani decided, she said with all their friends, we'll dig our own kund. So they used their bangles and they started digging in the earth. And then the representatives, the personified rivers of all the rivers that had come into Krishna's kund, volunteered to fill up Radha's kund, which they did. And then the two were connected. And even today, when you go to Radha Kund, you'll find Shama Kunds right next to it. This is a principle in devotional service. Aradhanam sarvesham Vishnu aradhanam param Tasmat parataram devi tadyanam samachara. This is a question answer to a question asked by Parvati. Parvati, as you know better than me, is the wife of Shiva. And she wanted to know what's the best kind of worship that one can do. And Shiva gave that answer. And it means that better than worshiping Krishna is worshiping that which is dear to Krishna. And that makes sense. Prabhupada used to say, love me, love my dog. And if you ever walk in the suburbs, like I do, because I live in the suburbs, so I have to walk in the suburbs, one of the most boring places in the world, suburbs. In my suburb, the only animals that one may see are dogs, sometimes cats. And when people are walking their dogs, if one wanted to make friends, you just say, that looks like a nice dog. And you can try it, because dogs are beloved because they're so loyal. They make, when you come home, they come to greet you. Even if you're a mass murderer, they'll come run and say, oh, hi, good to see you. They don't judge. And so people love their dogs, and if you say, that's a nice dog, then you'll immediately be their friend. You can try it out next time you're walking in the suburbs. And so Prabhupada said, by the same principle, if you love those who are dear to Krishna and you serve them, then Krishna will become pleased with you. And so the hierarchy is important, because if you find out where Krishna's favorite place is and whose place it is, and then you try to do service for that person, you'll be successful in pleasing Krishna. The secret to pleasing Srimati Radharani was given to us by the Goswamis of Vrindavan, and that is that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna, who's come to try to experience the love that Srimati Radharani has for him in Vrindavan, because it's the highest love. And when we worship Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then we have the opportunity of pleasing Srimati Radharani, because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Radha and Krishna combined. And one can, through Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, easily access Shri Shri Radha and Krishna. So as a simple principle, we chant Hare Krishna, and we also learn the hierarchy of what's most important, what the ultimate goal of life is, where the ultimate place is, who is the ultimate object of meditation. And our acharyas heartily suggest that we meditate on Lord Chaitanya, who's Radha and Krishna. And as we heard earlier today, if we serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then very easily we'll imbibe the mood of Vrindavan, and we'll come to understand the love between Radha and Krishna, which is the highest level of understanding God, as Radha and Krishna. So on this day of Radhashtami, Srila Prabhupada would often speak about Srimati Radharani sparingly, but he would mention that we have access by worshipping Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, he recommended that before we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That we say the mantra for the Panchatattva, which is Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sri Gaur Bhaktivinoda. And now we have a few minutes before the Artik. If you have any reflections from the day, or if you have a question that you think would help expand the conversation, then let's hear from you. Yes? Would you like a microphone? It's just now coming.
Hare Krishna, happy Radhashtami to everybody. So I have a question. What I know from my limited knowledge and awareness, that it is the love between lovers. Can the same kind of spiritual love be between son and mother, or husband, wife, or father and daughter, or even friends?
Yeah, same means the love is there, but it's a different mood. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach this variety of relationships that we can have with God. It's mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Anarpita charim chirat karuna yavatirna kalau samarpayituna tojvarasam subhakti shriyam. That in the Kali Yuga, something amazing has happened, that Krishna has come to teach something that people haven't known either for a long time or forever, which is about these relationships. So he talks about specifically 4 relationships, although there are 5. Shantaras means that people have an appreciation for God, but no service impetus. They just are in awe, and there are various symptoms of that mood of worshiping God that are listed in the Nectar of Devotion. Sometimes yogis or mystics, they're in meditation, and they're just in awe of God's creation. They'll see a sunrise, and they'll see the form of the Lord in the sun, and they're overwhelmed by appreciation. But once there's gratitude, and one's moved to want to do something for God, that's called dasyaras. And that means that one wants to serve and do something practical, like offer something, or clean something, or find out what can be done that would please Krishna and do that. And then above that is called sakyaras. Sakyaras means more intimate, and this is another hierarchy. And in the intimacy of friendship, there are varieties within each one of these, because there are hierarchies within these different categories, different kinds of friends. Some are closer than others. For instance, I have friends, and I can't slug them on the shoulder and laugh because we have a little bit more formality in our friendship. But I do have friends I can smack on the back or make a joke at their expense, and then we both laugh and fall on the floor because it's more intimate. And Krishna has relationships in friendship like that. It's called sakyaras. And above sakyaras is called vatsalaras. Vatsa means calf. And you know the love of a cow for her calf. And this is what we see in Yashoda. Yashoda and Nanda, for instance, in Vrindavan. They just see Krishna as their little son. And then above that is Madhurya Ras, which is the love of lovers. And there's 2 kinds there, and nuances within those. One is called parakiya, and the other is called swakiya. So swakiya means married. So Krishna has relationships in Dwarka, for instance, with his many wives. How many does he have? That's a lot. And they're married. But in Vrindavan, he has relationships with the gopis, headed by Srimati Radharani, and they're not married. It's secret. In fact, it's a big secret. We know when Krishna's leaving Vrindavan, they had to give up that secret and grab onto Akura's chariot and say, don't go, don't go, don't go. Blew their cover. But that kind of love is considered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Gaudiya Acharyas, to be the most comprehensive. So he came to teach these different levels of loving God. And yes, there are those varieties in our relationship with Krishna. If you have a short question or a long question, I can give a short answer. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, happy Janmashtami.
Thank you.
Radhashtami, happy Radhashtami.
We can get ready for Janmashtami. It's right around the corner. Okay, go ahead.
Today during Devamrita Swami Maharaj's lecture, I remember him mentioning Radharani's selfless service towards Krishna. And I was wondering what are some practical ways we could apply the mood of selflessness in our life?
Any service that's done for the sake of service, without expectation of getting something in return. Savai puṁsāṁ paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhokṣaje ahaituky apratihatā yayātmā suprasīdati. The sages at Naimisharanya said, if you can do service like this, that in which you're not expecting anything in return, you can try that. In the Bhagavad Gītā, Kṛṣṇa says, do that. And he said, if you can't do that, then practice doing it. And then he said, if you can't do that, then just give away some of the fruit of your work. This is in the 12th chapter. He said, if you can't do that for one reason or another, try to do something in the world selflessly. Like go volunteer somewhere and see if you don't feel better about yourself. And this principle where you give without expecting in return, people feel good when they volunteer somewhere because oh wow, how come I feel better? I didn't want anything, I just volunteered, try to do a good thing. And when we practice in devotional service and we associate with pure devotees, we notice that they're happy all the time because they're doing selfless service. And it catches. They think, why are they so happy? Why do they live such an opulent, happy life? It's because they follow the formula. And then we might try it ourselves. So that's what we're all doing. In fact, I was talking to a godbrother yesterday, and he was saying how it's especially important to remember when we're in a community like this that how we do things is more important than what we do. It's not that we're trying to achieve some goal, because the goal could always be higher, and what's it to Krishna? He owns everything anyway. But it's the mood that we do it in that's most important. And if we have a mood of loving service to others, we do things out of love for our friends in devotional service, we'll feel a natural sense of happiness. That's what makes this or any other spiritual community sanguine and cheerful, is selfless service. So just try to do selfless service and see how you feel. Okay? Did everyone have a nice day today? Yes. How many of you did a double header today? Mangalarti all the way through till now. And we'd like to welcome everyone who came for the second round. Albeit, we're just barely pulling over the finish line. But it is nice, and we could do like Naimisharanya and just do this. How long was their sacrifice for? Would you like to do this for 1,000 years and just keep doing it? Okay, we'll try to set that up. So next, we're going to have Artik ceremony, and this will be beautiful because the deities look so beautiful today. It's a special day of Radhashtami. So we're going to stand up and put all the asanas. They have containers back there where they fit perfectly. Can do that. We'll roll up this rug. Everything gets put away, and then we're going to go to the middle of the floor, and we're going to have artik ceremony, along with some beautiful singing of the Hare Krishna mantra. Now, I have a Swami at my house, and I have to drive the Swami to the airport. So I'm going to stay till we start, and then I got to go back and take the Swami to the airport. Is that okay? Yeah. If you'll excuse me, if you see me sneaking out, it's not because I don't want to be here. It's just that, it's like when you have a Swami at your house, right? I'm on Swami time. So, and I want to see him off because he's a very, very dear godbrother to me, and I need to have some last minutes with him before he leaves for New Zealand. And I thank everyone very much for all that you're doing. We had a fundraiser today. It was successful, and we're still inching towards our goal. And it all culminates next week. Also, as a reminder, anyone who is learning the 29 verses from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, better make your video because it's due tomorrow, right? At 12:01 a.m. tonight. Otherwise, they're going to come knocking at your door to see where it is. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srimati Shri Radha Madan Mohan, on this day of Radhashtami, if you so desire, please bless everyone who came to the program today, that they may always feel cheerful in their hearts when they chant Hare Krishna, and may they feel like dancing and giving this chant to everybody else that they meet, including animals and plants and the bugs in the air. Hare Krishna. Thank you for considering our request. Everyone agrees with this prayer in whole or in part. Please unmute and say Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Vancha kalpatarubhascha kripa sindhavevcha patitanam bhavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Okay. We flew in a special guest from LA just to lead the kirtan tonight, Dhruv.